All right, welcome to Strider Tree Gear. I'm doing a little filming today for my new class, Beginning Climbing. It's going to cover everything you need to know for either a moving rope system or stationary rope system climbing, everything from the basic gear, a little bit more fancy gear if you're trying to go into the actual professional side of climbing, all the way to rope setting, how to move about in the canopy. It's going to be roughly an hour long, give you a lot of information, A to Z, start to finish, and hopefully you guys will find that useful. It's going to be available both on my website and on Skillshare. So keep your eye out for that, and if you want to be alerted when that comes out, be sure to subscribe to my website, stridertreegear.com or stridertrees.com. I've got a little submission form, and I'll send out a big email to everyone on that list when that is available. But I wanted to today give you a little sample of the information that is going to be contained in that, and hopefully you'll find it useful. Okay, so when you're looking to set your rope ahead of you, your top tie, your climb system, there's a few things that you want to focus on picking out where to actually set the rope in the tree, in the canopy, so that you can move optimally, so that you're not having too much trouble getting your way in there, because that initial entry is oftentimes the most difficult part of the whole process. So starting off with the moving rope system here, I've got a similarly structured tree here for our picture so I can kind of compare and contrast. But the beauty of a moving rope system is that it's really easy to advance your line ahead of you once you're actually in the canopy. Once you're standing up here in one of these unions, you can throw your line up one branch, two branches ahead of you and work your way all the way up to the top, set your friction saver or whatever you're going to use, and then you can climb down and around in the tree with relatively little difficulty, and you can leave your tying point in place. But getting up there is the hard part. With a moving rope system, remember you've got two legs of line and you want minimal friction in the system. So the shot that he's going to try to make with his throw line, you want to shoot not for the lowest branch. If you shoot for the lowest branch, it's hard to get past it. You want to shoot for the next decent branch that's above a branch that you can stand on, but is still strong enough for you to work. So you want to throw that line up and over there, bring it around, and now if I just let that drop, it's going to be behind this other limb, right? And then when you bring that rope around, if you were to bring it all the way back around, it's going to trap two limbs in there. And again, you want to be standing on this one when you switch your ropes around. So that's going to make it tough to actually pull yourself up on top of that if your rope is coming out from the bottom side. So ideally what you want to do is called isolating the branch. You want your throw line to go up and over this and come around it to where it's just that one branch that's trapped within your climb system. So that's the goal. You can't always get that, but that's what you're shooting for. There's different ways to manipulate your throw line, using the ball to swing back and forth and have it swing on the inside. So, say you trap them both, well, you can get the ball swinging, the throw weight, and you can land it on this side. And I'll demonstrate that a little bit in a minute. But what it comes down to is you want to isolate a branch somewhere in the lower part of the canopy where you can get both legs of line to you with nothing trapped in the middle. And that's going to be your easiest way to enter. Once you're actually in the tree standing on this, like I said, you can advance your throw line, you can advance your climb line above you. You tie your lanyard, lock yourself off, take off your climb line, throw it up to a higher branch, and away you go until you're up top, set, and you climb it and work your way down. That's how you would approach your shot or your throw with a moving rope system. Now, I'm going to explain that single rope system here, and it's a little bit different. So with a stationary rope system or single rope system, it's more difficult, and what I'm going to describe here is a base anchored. So there's two different ways to do a single rope system. You can have your canopy, you can have a canopy anchor, which means your rope is actually tied off around the canopy coming down. And that's, both, and you just climb up and down on that one, and it's anchored in the canopy, so it's called a canopy anchor. Or you can have your line thrown up and over and then tied around the base of the tree, and you can climb the other end of it, and that's called a base anchor. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is the base anchor. It's a little bit more simple, it's easy to retrieve, there's a lot of complexity that comes with canopy anchors, and you still have to isolate the branch if you use a canopy anchor. And you think, oh, why would anyone ever use a canopy anchor? Well, there's a key advantage of using a canopy anchor over a base anchor, and that is when I'm base anchored, I'm more than doubling the force of my weight on this union. Because if this leg of the rope is pulling downwards equal to my weight, let's just say 150 pounds, and then the other leg of the rope is pulling downwards because I'm tied to it at 150 pounds, right here, that branch is experiencing at least 300 pounds of pressure. And if I bounce or jump, it can actually multiply that 2-3 times. And so what can happen with a base anchor is if you're up and over too small of a limb, too small of a branch at the top, you can actually break the top out of the tree. So you want to be a little bit careful with your base anchors to make sure that you're nice and close to the trunk and you've got a good meaty branch around. I recommend not climbing on anything smaller than the diameter of your thigh. So that should give you some idea of what a branch is going to be that's going to be sturdy enough to be base anchored. But this is the easier, simpler way to go. This is the one I'm going to recommend and what we'll be demonstrating through this video system. So like I was saying, as far as our actual throwing goes, there's ways that the technique and what you're going to aim for with a single rope shot is a little bit different than the double rope, because with a base anchor, I don't actually have to isolate the branch, and I don't necessarily even want to. A lot of times with a base anchor, my primary goal is getting it as high in the tree as I can and still being on sturdy enough branches. Because once my base is anchored off and tied, it's hard to advance ahead of me. You know, I've got one end tied around the tree, the other end is this end I'm climbing on, and there's a whole bunch of slack down there. So what ends up happening if I want to advance it is I either have to pull all the slack through, or I gotta have someone else on the ground, untie it, and then I can advance it, or I have to use what's called a redirect, which is a little bit easier, and that can be done too, but it's more complexity, more gear, and you have to retrieve it on your way down, and all of that complicates things. So ideally, when you're throwing for a single rope anchor, you want to shoot it or throw it up over the highest fork in the tree that you can. Just say this goes up that way, you know, and in a perfect world, you hit the topmost strong anchor on the first try, you let the rope come back down, you know, right now it's behind the tree, and there's the tailing end right there, you know, coming out from the back side. And now you don't have to isolate anything. All you got to do is you take this end that's hanging out over here, bring it around the backside, tie it off around the base of the tree, and away you go. So I mean, just trying to show that the rope goes up and over, down the backside of the tree where you can't see it, and it's just anchored around the base. There's a few different ways to anchor that. I'll show you two through this demo, but there's a lot of ways to skin that cat, and I'll give you a couple. So a little bit of a different approach to setting a line, whether you choose stationary rope system or moving rope system. And hopefully that will help make some sense for you as you go to do that. So to start off, I'm going to actually take the end of my rope here, pass it around the tree, and I'll start with the most simple, cheap, easy to deal with method. It involves 2 knots that you'll have to know. The first one is a running bowline. So I wrap it around, little loop there. If you want a closer example of how this is done, you can check out the reference sheet. The running bowline is one of the knots that will be listed there. Now that by itself is not considered a safe climbing knot, because if you slack and tension that, this can actually work itself loose. So you have to back it up. And the way we back it up is by tying a fisherman's stopper around the other line, around the length of the line going away from the, going around the tree. So, dress that up properly. See how it's got the little cross right there, and then 2 parallel strands going around. And so all that does, it slides along here, and now that's gonna keep this line, keep the anchor here from sliding up and down the tree. It's also gonna back up the tail so that tail can't come loose. Now that would be basic anchor number 1. No extra hardware. Nothing needed but just the knowledge about these, how to tie these 2 knots. I'll go ahead and take this apart, and I will show you another method that can be used. For those of you who maybe come from rock climbing, this method will be a little bit more familiar to you. It uses just 1 knot. It's a safe climbing knot. You don't really need to back it up because it doesn't come loose. And so you start out with a figure 8. Well, it's just going to be a choking figure 8. What do they call that? Figure 8 follow through. So just like you would be if you were going to climb on, attach yourself to a rock climbing harness, you tie a little figure 8 knot in the rope, bring it around the end of the tree going up, the working end there, and now I'm going to follow back with my tail. I'm going to follow back, run the strands parallel to that current figure 8 that is there. And it should lay flat and parallel the whole way around, and then you know you've done it right. You want to make sure all those strands are running next to each other. You should see 2, 4, 6, 8, all nice and smooth and parallel. And that one's bunched over a little bit there. And you want to tighten all these individually so that you can, it actually counterintuitively makes it so that it comes out easier. And that will also be a nice safe base anchor to climb on. Once again, no hardware, very simple, a little slower, a little harder to tie, but no big deal. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you've ever had trouble figuring out just where to set the rope in the tree when you're throwing your throw line up there, those are rules that I've lived by and they've served me well. If you want more sort of basic information like that or a much more in-depth explanation of the whole process of getting into a tree, be sure to check out this class when it comes out. It's going to be available on Skillshare and on my website. And hopefully I will catch you guys next time here on the YouTube channel. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want to know or learn about in the comments. I'm happy to oblige. Most of these videos have come from your guys' suggestions and I really appreciate the support. So thank you and I'll catch you next time.